Join us on tonight's wrap, where Collier Keywood has finally said he's leaving. We've lost about 80 million scrum halves out in South Africa, and three of us get to preview European knockouts. Enjoy. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Welsh Rugby Regional Appreciation Podcast, or something in those words in a slightly different order. I am joined by the regular panel of Dan, Nick, and Hattie. How are we all doing?
Very
Good
good. Good
evening,
evening.
everyone. Very good.
It's a Monday.
It's a Monday, and Hattie is ill. Would you like a moment to talk about your woes, or would you
No,
rather save your voice?
I'm just like 90% snot, which I'm sure everybody wants to know at home.
Right, excellent. Good win for Abertillery on the weekend, then.
Yeah, we got back on the horse, which was nice in our sort of running for the season. I think we're down to is much longer season than last year, mind you. I think we played 18 games last year, and we're up to 24 league games, 3 or 4 cup games through your pre-seasons. So it's a 30-odd game season this year. So yeah, we're down to now. I want to say the last 7 or 8 fixtures, 7 probably, which hopefully now over the next couple of weeks we can secure our status in the championship for next season, because it's a tough old league.
Excellent. And Judith Chalmers, you've been on your travels again. How was Galway?
Yeah, very good. Very good. Wet on Sunday, but we had the one dry day of their calendar year on Saturday, so you couldn't complain too much about the weather.
Well, we'll get into more about Saturday in a bit. First of all, Nick, what's on the news desk?
Okay, quite a lot actually. We go back to just after we recorded, the start on Tuesday, and the WRU announced that Ashley Beck has been appointed the Wales interim coach for the forthcoming Six Nations. And also, I think it was the following day, Steve Salvin has been appointed as the interim forwards coach. Obviously, I think probably people know a little bit about Ashley's Beck's background, but Salvin has been seconded from a similar role, or no, he's head coach, sorry, I think in Exeter Chiefs
Mhm.
to take up his position with Wales. And soon afterwards, it was announced that the Women's Wales Six Nations squad was shared. And I'll let Tati top up, but I think there's quite a few changes to the team or the squad that were in the last competition.
Yeah, it's massive changes. Let me get up just so I can. I did do all the maths and all the ins and outs. Um, but if we compare it to the World Cup squad, we've got 9 uncapped players. 25 of our players are playing in the Celtic Challenge or have played in the Celtic Challenge, which is 66%, versus the World Cup squad, which was 17 of them. That was 52%. There was one uncapped player in that World Cup squad. So I think Bronwyn Metcalf's got like got like one cap. So really, you're looking at like a lot of very, very new players. If we compare it to last year's Six Nations squad, there were no uncapped players. 14 were playing in the Celtic Challenge. So huge gains on the Celtic Challenge side. So much new blood in terms of Ellen Jones, Stella Orrin in the front row, got Georgia Iono in the back row, Kendall Wardby, who I think if you have only really got any experience with the Celtic Challenge and not with the PWR, she plays at Loughborough Lightning, which is where I have my season ticket, so I know her quite well. She can play hooker and she can also play in the back row. She's really, really versatile. It'll be interesting to see where she ends up playing for Wales because she can do both. Then 3 new centres, Jenna De Vera, Savannah Picton-Powell and Kelsey Webster. Jenna has been in and out of squads for a really long time. She's had a lot of injury problems. She was Wales under-20s captain for a number of years. She was Scarlet's women's captain during the last lot, and she was also the under-18s captain at one point. And then in the back three, we've got Nikita Prothero, who can play on the wing or at fullback, and Seren Singleton, who can play on the wing. She can also play at 9 as well. So huge changes there. We do have 3 returning players, which is Natalia John, who was out through injury, Alicia Joyce, who was out with a pregnancy. And then Sian Jones, who had just been dropped for the World Cup. We're missing Al Callan and Elle Metcalfe due to injury. Kath Richards, Megan Davis, Abby Fleming, and Abby Constable have all been dropped. And then Karen Lake is retired. So, couple of big drops, couple of interesting ones, but it's really, really good to see that you can't, it's not just on name recognition anymore. That's something that used to happen a lot with the Wales women's squad is that you'd have somebody who's just constantly in the squad, so they're picked up, even if they're not necessarily playing regular rugby. And then you'd hear, well, we want players who are playing regular rugby. And I was like, well, this person hasn't played in 8 months, so this is ridiculous. But this is actually, apart from Alicia Joyce, who you could argue, she's played one game because of the pregnancy, everybody else has been playing regular rugby of some description, whether that be PWR or the Celtic Challenge.
Okay, going on to the men's game. Former Wales and British Lion fullback Liam Williams, at 34, has announced his retirement. Obviously, had an awful lot of injuries in the last 3 or 4 years, but probably just confirming what we already thought there. Also, Welsh international Chris Shunza, who had been playing Exeter, had an injury-ravaged season, has signed for Sale Sharks after some speculation he might be coming back to Cardiff, but that wasn't to be. He's got 15 caps, so if the cap rule continues, he wouldn't, I would think, be eligible for Wales, but we'll see how that pans out. In better news for Cardiff, two of their outstanding back row players who featured highly and played very well for Wales in the Six Nations have re-signed. So Alex Mann is staying at Cardiff after signing what's termed a new long-term contract. And also the other flanker, James Botham, has also agreed to stay at Cardiff. So, yeah, some good news on that front. Harley, anything you want to add?
Yeah, so those two come off the back of two young prospects in Tom Bowen and Steph Emanuel signing. I can't remember. I think Tom Bowen might have signed when we recorded last week, but I can't remember.
I think so, yeah.
But yeah, I know Steph, so they're just doing that as sort of few re-signings. Some other positive news is Cornel Van Zyl in an interview said they've managed to retain everyone they wanted to keep, which hasn't is been even close to the case for us the last few seasons. So looking forward to seeing some more re-signings and maybe a couple more new signings, especially in the emergency side of things, which we'll be talking about when we get onto the actual rugby.
Can I just say I really, really like the campaign that Cardiff have done with the re-signings. I don't know how many of them are actually in Cardiff. I've only seen it on social media, but they've actually gone out and put up like posters of all the re-signings as like an advert, which I thought was really cool.
They put them up in Ponty and Mercer and Bracknell as well.
Yeah, they will have. They definitely would have had the Alex Mann ones in Aberdeen.
Oh, I'm sure they did. They were everywhere, I expect.
Yeah. To be fair, Mike Brownlee, the sort of head of communications and marketing, him and his team have been really on these sort of things the last few times. The new season ticket video was really good as well. Said, sexy centenary. I said it's if it wasn't one overlooming thing, I'd say it was quite a positive time for Cardiff off-field.
Yeah, but it wasn't just that massive, great big, ironically black cloud. Um,
Yeah, not even a blue and black cloud.
no,
An
just
Osprey's blood is black cloud.
yeah.
Turning to the Ospreys, last Wednesday, Swansea Council unanimously agreed to go ahead and put the funding into the redevelopment at St Helens, and that will start in April. Preliminary, it'll be a community use facility, but it will allow Ospreys to play their home games there for next season. They'll go ahead with the 4G pitch, they'll go ahead with floodlighting, and they'll go ahead with the installation of one temporary stand, and then other things that they'll need to do to ensure the ground comes up to the requirements of the URC. So we're probably looking at a capacity of about 6,500 for next season, and I guess any further developments around the ground will develop hopefully after the Osprey future is secured. Until then, it's very much about a facility which Swansea RFC, the university, and other clubs in the area can use. If you want to know more about that, myself and Rob Stewart and Grant we had an interview last Thursday, and you can access that through the RAP channel. And it was interesting to hear Rob Stewart's commitment really to developing this, and it certainly puts the Ospreys, I feel, in a stronger position than we were this time last week. So yeah, so some good news at last after what's been a difficult few months for Ospreys and Osprey fans.
I think irrespective of the rugby situation, I think it's a good investment to do anyway. I drove past St Helens probably 2 or 3 weekends ago. My boy heading down to do a 10-mile walk along the coastal path on the go to raise some money for his tour to Treviso with the rest of his little playing mates there, and it did look a bit run down.
Mm-hmm.
It did look as though and it's a famous old facility. There's no reason why, irrespective of what happens in the future, it couldn't be used widely by, as you say, the university. Obviously Swansea would make good use of it, RFC, and so on and so forth. Plus the cricket had been playing out there as well, and so I think it's good money well spent from the council. Personally, it's always good to have increased sports infrastructure, isn't it? Irrespective of the backdrop.
And going to the WRU, of course, the big news last week was that their first independent chair, Richard Colley-Keyword, will stand down at the end of his term of office, which I believe is in July. Obviously, he's still subject to the EGM, and obviously the vote that might mean that he might have to leave before then, because one of the motions is that he's replaced. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I've heard rumours that the EGM might not now take place, as Malcolm Wall has also gone. So it'll be interesting if that meeting takes place. I believe that's on April 13th. So I don't know if you guys, the rest of you, actually anybody have any views on that, how we think it might play out?
I mean, for me, it's clearly he's jumping before he was pushed. Like he's seen the writing on the wall. He knows his unpopularity. Whether you agree with the premise of, whether you agree with dropping down to 3 or 4 or sticking with 4, whatever way, the way he's handled this as the chairperson, supposedly the main figurehead for the organisation, he's just been really bad at trying to bring people through. It's been very much my way or the highway all the way through. And, I think seeing, the reports that people on the board were asking for his resignation, and it's just not a good look. And frankly, I'm quite happy to see the back of him. You know, it was really good when the WRU said, "Oh, we're going to make 50% of our execs women." Could we make 50%? That's great, but can we have people who actually know Welsh rugby or rugby at all? Would be even better as well. Because I feel like if you're a rugby governing body, you kind of need that. I mean, we already cocked up with appointment of Dave Redden, who was effectively supposed to be a de facto director of rugby. And because he doesn't know anything about rugby, we had to then hire a rugby person ahead of him. And, I just feel like there's a lot of things that have been just led by Richard Colley-Keyword, which are focused entirely on money. And this is a sporting organisation. It's not a money-making business. Yes, you need to make sure there's money in the pot, because otherwise it collapses. But it can't be if we're going on a spreadsheet, you just close down all the rugby and just have the hotels. And you just have a conference facility. Because sport makes losses. Manchester United probably have a debt bigger than most of the home nation sport. The home nation unions is it on their own. Like sport is expensive.
I mean,
Uh,
sport is just when you look at around the world and you look at sort of like vanity. Well, it is just vanity projects. Like any successful sport franchise is just a vanity project for a billionaire generally, and that's the only way they can be successful is if somebody pours money into it and the books are a little bit cooked. Like, I don't think we can expect the WRU to make massive amounts of money. It'd be great if they stopped losing massive amounts of money, but it's never going to be that it makes money. It's never going to be a profitable business in that sense. I think it'll be interesting to see now. I think if anything's going to happen to the other two of that little triad, it will happen relatively quickly. I think if they can survive the EGM and make it through to sort of the end of the Women's Six Nations, I don't see them leaving. I think they're in for the long haul.
My understanding is that the EGM will cost around 25 grand to run. Um, so I wonder whether they'll can it now, with him falling on his sword. Anyway,
It shouldn't
Yeah,
need to
it could.
cost that much. Just make it all on Zoom. They've clearly already got the Zoom license
I
for
know
that.
just on the rumor mill. That's all I got. No, just from hearing from a couple of insiders, if you like. But I look. My concern is that we're going to get left behind quickly if we don't get our house in order within the next. These guys have had 2 years at it now, mind. And irrespective of whether you think it's going to work or not, in the last however many weeks we've seen, just take. We know the level of competition that French rugby's at the moment. 2 fully pro leagues, televised, so on and so forth. Federal one's more or less pro now, I would have said, give or take. So you're talking at 2.5, maybe even 3 leagues that the pro out there. It might even go deeper than that. I don't know. English rugby, again, whether you think it's going to succeed or not, has just effectively made rugby sort of a franchise. The league rugby they franchised it effectively. It's ring fence again, whether you agree with that or not. But Red Bull are involved in the Prem already. That's only going to improve the league and obviously the club that are involved with Newcastle as a whole. Dyson has just bought 50% of the shareholding at Bath. Is it a coincidence that he sort of got involved when they announced that it had been franchised? I don't know. Eddie Hearn has just stuck his nose into rugby as well. Again, with signing Henry Pollock to his talent agency, whether you like him or not, irrespective of that, the fact of the matter is he's going to improve the eyes on rugby. Oh, look what they've done with darts and snooker and so on and so forth over recent years at Matchroom. So if anyone can, increase the eyes and the audience on rugby, it would be those guys. And we are still left in fighting, which is absolutely crazy. And the gap, if we don't do something very quickly, and this is where I think we do need a level of transparency now, especially for those that are going to be attending the EGM if that does go ahead, and so on and so forth. We need a level of transparency so everyone knows where we are. Because if there is no money for teams, then we've just got to get on with it, and we put our big boys and girls pants on and go out there and crack on with it. Because if the finances aren't there, the finances aren't there. But we need to get our house in order very, very quickly. Otherwise, everyone else is going to be looking in the rearview mirror whilst we're still scratching around in front of a few thousand people at stadiums, and don't know whether we got playing squads at regions or pro clubs, whatever you want to call them, next season. And our national team languishing down around the tier 2 teams in national rugby. We've got to try and jump back on this on the train now, haven't we? Before it, after we've derailed, and I'm really concerned that we're going to get left behind.
Okay, that's the end of the news anyway.
Excellent stuff. So we'll move on to the week. We'll move on to the weekend. I said there was one bit of news, but it's in the Prem. But the only thing I wanted to add on there was about the Premiership adding a salary floor to go with the salary cap, where they're going to punish teams if they spend less than £5.4 million, which, considering that, Tony Rowe is trying to sell off Exeter, other clubs have been struggling to find investors, and the whole thing about wages being a bit too high. I feel like that's a really badly timed bit of news to come through.
I do
But
wonder, though, with that coming in, if that's also going to affect the women's squads, though, because reportedly Leicester Tigers, which there are a couple of Welsh players at Leicester Tigers women, so relatively relevant here. One, they stink, but two, it's because they're not spending any money on the actual squad. So I do wonder because a lot of um their sort of like players union has decided a lot of it's like signed together. So whatever kind of deal is decided with the Prem, it's also with the PWR. So it would be interesting if those two are related.
What I found interesting with some of the Prem stuff as well, and this is where I think they could start to pull ahead from us, which is worrying. Is Dyson and the sort of notes and the stuff that was stuck out to journalists around ours about building infrastructure and facilities. Red Bull are going to be doing the same. Pathway structure, facilities, medical, all of that sort of stuff. This could go. If the money's being thrown in at these clubs or these teams, these franchises, whatever you want to call them now, irrespective of the purchasing the players that they have done over recent years, especially from Bath perspective, like say Finn Russells, etc. All of a sudden, their talent pathway becomes full of brilliant players anyway, doesn't it? Because they're being given the best, and therefore very quickly it becomes a very self-fulfilling prophecy whereby they're paying for themselves, kind of thing, almost. And again, we currently haven't got a pathway. we got nothing.
It does make me, it does, going back to that transparency thing, it does make me think about the whole Y11 versus Martin Ryan bids to take over Cardiff, because the way that that consortium were talking about, they were looking at ways to have like a sustainable income of money with the TV series. They wanted development. I think they were talking about a women's team as well. And you're like, and Y11 are looking at, and you're thinking, did Y11 really offer this much in terms of like rugby on field, even if it's not monetarily enough a thing, or is it just that the WRU really wanted to get down to 3?
And
But then there's no transparency with it. It's like,
what do you really think, as a genuinely now as a Cardiff supporter, you're going to have a shed load of investment from Y11?
no,
Because the Ospreys haven't, have they?
I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of that money came from the minority guy who's been there for Rob something or another.
Not please.
Also, is there anyone in Swansea not called Rob?
Oh no, you've got to be called Rob. Or
They're all Robs. All right, cool.
Once you got the valley, you got to be called Morgan.
No, okay, all right, cheers. Just because I was there thinking, like, everyone who seems involved with this Swansea thing is Rob. Is a Robson.
Because I just think, when you look at it, you're going to have someone owning a club again or team, whatever you want to call it, and there's limited investment coming in. Like, surely there's got to be. We're going to get so left behind. This is worrying in terms of infrastructure and stuff like that. You're going to have all these other clubs in sort of England or France that they'll be building these mega facilities for training and academy and education and nutrition and medical and all this other stuff. And Cardiff are going to still be training under the stand. It's just crazy in there. When you think about it, it's absolutely crazy. Let's talk about actual rugby, because
let's go. Because otherwise we could keep moaning about this forever. So we'll start off. I just wanted to avoid talking about. God, do you remember when Cardiff beat the Sharks 35-0 in Durban? This did not happen on the weekend. So on Friday night, well, Friday afternoon, really, it was barely a lunchtime friendly fixture. It certainly wasn't a normal working day friendly fixture. Sharks beat Cardiff 21-15, 21-12 up at half time. We won the second half, as Lee was always fond of saying when he was on the pod. Mostly a good game. I thought there's lots of things. I think the problem that we've seen since the autumn is still carrying through, where we're not finishing off these chances. Mason Grady scored 2 very nice tries, and had one absolutely fantastic tackle on Andre Stays, and I don't know if you guys saw it, but it was one of those dump tackles where it's just on the limit of being a tip tackle, but just absolutely. If it wasn't for the fact he'd already gotten the ball away, it would have been perfect. But I thought we played pretty well. We kicked well. I said last passing go. I mean, the big killer for us was our line-out just absolutely imploded, and no set piece, no win. Scrum went all right until Oxenchae came on. But I mean, I'd still put him up as one of the best loose heads in the world. So you kind of expect that. I mean, there's not a huge amount to say on the game, really. I think the important thing is we got a bonus point and we denied them getting the full 5 points, which sort of gives us a little bit more breathing room. Although it is getting very, very tight in that sort of bottom bottom half of the top eight. Didn't have any
Look,
thoughts?
well, it's a tough place to go, isn't it? And you look at some of the firepower that the South Africans have got coming back into the squads. They time it very well, don't they? Bringing front loading teams now with Springboks coming back in right in for the right in time for the run in and the playoffs, etc. So on the whole, though, I thought it was a decent showing from what I saw from Cardiff. They certainly weren't blown away. It's never easy going away to South Africa, is it? As everyone can attest to, no matter what, whether you're Scottish, Irish, Italian, or Welsh. So yeah, I thought it was a good showing, and you're right. I think that not allowing that extra point may be vital for you due to the when the end of the season comes in terms of play. I still think Cardiff are a shoe in for the playoffs. So surely you're going to be bitterly disappointed if you don't make even a home playoff. To be honest, after the start that you had.
So the only issue is the games we've still got coming up. We've got Scarlets away. All right, yes, our form at Parker Scarlets is way better than our home form, but I wouldn't guarantee it. Then we've got Ospreys at home, which we just seem to always fuck up. We Hugh pointed out on the URC rewind, which is on our sister channel, Global Game Line. Cardiff do have really bad form when we're not playing the Dragons when it comes to Welsh teams. Yeah, you've got them. Then we've got Glasgow away, which is going to be difficult. Stormers at home could be an interesting one, especially if they've already secured top two.
Yeah,
That
could be.
might
Yeah.
that might be, and also they've. I'll be honest, the Stormers don't play. I mean, I'd rather be in their position where they look like they're not playing well but still winning.
Mhm.
But I said they just no way, and maybe the Cardiff Arms part factor will be enough to push us for the win there. But it's still really tight. You got
Not
Bulls
this
who've still
tight.
got
Yeah.
2 games, yeah. So you're looking
Yeah,
at.
Con at 39, Sharks
Well,
33.
even going from the Lions in fifth, they're on 43, and then down to the Hollywood Beck Sharks, that's 10 points. That's 2 wins with 4 games going. Your South African teams have got another 2 games at home, which I'd
Mm.
say pretty much all of them are likely to win. Maybe Lions, Glasgow, you'd see the away team win. But
Not if
that
Glasgow have already secured what they need to.
thing is, I'd even put money on the Glasgow rotated side to beat them because since that rotated side, since losing to the Scarlets, they've just gotten better every time they've run out.
Yeah, how many
Yeah,
games do we
they're
play
almost in
regular?
a similar position to where Leinster was a couple of years ago.
How many games do we play regular season each team?
18.
18.
18 in
18.
the
So
league.
there's
18 in the league, and then there's 4 Europe.
yeah. So there's four games left.
Yeah, maximum 20 points on offer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Maybe even the Ospreys are still in it just about. Being
It's
on
a
30.
mathematical.
So yeah. I think Bennett and
Right.
on 28 are gone. Anything 12 and below are out of it. So,
Yeah.
do you know what though? It's far. At least it's exciting, and there's always something to talk about. But yeah, going back to Cardiff, I think you're in the box seat. How many games out of those 4 games? How many of them are at home for you?
2-2.
2-2. You win
This has
your.
actually been one of our best seasons for home and away split.
There you go. So,
But the one home game is Ospreys, which I said we really struggle against Ospreys.
but you got
Even
look, you do, but you got to be thinking right. If we can pick up 2 bonus point wins at home, that's got to be the mentality.
yeah,
That gets you to 51.
yeah.
If
I'd
you
say
can,
That'll be
48,
enough.
50 is the most anyone's needed to get to 8.
yeah, I think you'd be further up the ladder than that, especially if you could pick up a couple of bonus points away, in those other fixtures as well. So don't be too down on yourself, Harley. I think you'll be all right, certainly for the playoffs, and you never know, even for a decent draw.
Yeah, so hopefully it's not pinging between too much pinging between South Africa and Europe
Oh
because
yeah,
that's a bit of a killer.
Mhm.
yeah, absolutely.
All right, unless anyone has anything else they want us to talk about on this game, we'll move on to a very Leinster versus Scarlets game in Leinster Scarlets. Finished off 36-19, but only 12-7 at half time, Hattie. I thought Scarlets played really well overall.
Yeah, I mean, we had territory, we had possession. I think when I looked at the stats earlier, it was like we had 53% or, you know, territory possession, that kind of thing. Very, very close to it being 50-50. Leinster just were able to convert a lot better. Um, they had their scrum was significantly better, but their starting front three were a Lions front three. So I would hope that they were were better than us in that case. Um, I think considering the team that Leinster put out, which was significantly stronger than most people were expecting, um, I think we played really well. I'm not surprised that it's closer than some people predicted. We did beat them last year. Obviously, we were a lot better last year than we were this year, but you know, we did. The last time we played them, which was the following week actually, last season, when it was first V8, it was relatively close. Like they're not necessarily getting those runaway scores this year, so I'm not particularly surprised by the score. I think it was Dan actually predicted that Leinster would win by 17. I could be wrong, it might have been Nick, but I'm not super surprised by the score. Um, there are certain things that were really irritating from Scarlett's point of view. We had two really silly preventable yellows that just didn't need to happen. And because of those yellows, Leinster scored. There's also things like the Max Deegan try, which even he was like, I haven't scored, but it was given anyway. Um, but I think considering we went out to Dublin, playing at a very empty Aviva Stadium, um, I'm not mad about it. It wasn't great. It wasn't terrible. I think we played relatively well, but you're playing Leinster at home. It's going to be a tough game.
Uh, just in case you're interested, Hattie, it was you with 15 and Dan with 19, so you were both two off.
We were very close.
Me and Nick were also equidistant apart on that one, so we both ended up the same points. For me, the thing that killed you was the O'Brien double right at the start of the second
Yeah,
half. That first 10 minutes, it's that classic Leinster thing of where they'll just turn it on, score two quick tries, and then you're chasing the game after that. And it
it
just
was, and also Ellis Me went off at like 35, 37 minutes, something like that, with injury. And I think before that, our wing D was a lot, our defence sort of right on the edges was a lot better. He comes off. He's just a huge benefit to our backline. So when he's not there, it is noticeable. Um, but yeah, we did cock that one up. Quite frankly, it's just silly things where we put our heads down and we're not thinking. But I think that comes from the fact if you looked at our squad, like it wasn't, it's a squad that you'd expect from basically kids and a mixture of standard URC players who aren't internationals playing against Lions. Well, like what else are you gonna? I'm surprised it's not a bigger score.
I think you've done yourself a disservice there, to be honest. My my overriding thought on this was that you wasted the first 15 minutes up until that. What do you expect when you go? If you converting that pressure into points in the first sort of 15 minutes in that territory that you had where you just couldn't get over, it took you ages and ages to get over, may have seen you come away with two
Mm.
bonus points, which I think would have been a right result. Um, and then you're right, the yellow cards kind of killed it off. But I thought Dan Davis showed up well for the 70 minutes he was on the field. I thought he was really good. I actually really like Jared Taylor. Real tough, tough as teak, hard working number 6. Standout player for me once again was Fletcher Anderson. Uh,
I think our back
what
row
a signing!
altogether, that was a really, really well balanced back row. They played really, really well together.
I
But
just thought 25 carries from Fletcher Anderson. That that is some shift. Whatever you were paying him, it's worth every penny because I think that's fantastic. He also led for dominant tackles as well, 4 dominant tackles. How many tackles did he make? Because he's probably up there. Four. What an absolute shift. You can't be paying him enough. 25 tackles, 25 carries, 14 tackles, 4 of which were dominant. Give that man a pay rise. Absolutely give
I
him a pay rise.
could be wrong, but what does worry me is that I think he's only on a 1 year contract.
Oh, you got to pay him.
Yeah,
Get the big bucks out and pay him now because he's absolutely worth it. Tie up if you lose him for this
we're
season,
screwed.
It'll be a Callum
yeah,
Mahoney incident again.
you
We
need
spend
to
forever
go all
replacing
out
him.
to keep him. That output from someone, he's got a complete disregard for his own health and safety. I thought he was fantastic. Um,
And
but
he's
yeah,
young as well.
and
So you
he
can
is young.
he's
Yeah,
the sort of player you can plan squads around.
yeah.
I also think that, you know, when he first came into the squad, we were like, oh, he's amazing, he's this. And then we kind of picked up that there were some issues, his restarts, things like that. He had a couple of issues that he needed to work on, and he has gone away and worked on them, which sometimes when you pick up a player, they don't. And
He,
that weakness carries them through. He's worked on it, and he's come out the other side. So he's a cracking player. I think to go from new signing, within the first few weeks of the season to captaining the side, it's big from him. Really, really big.
top player. If he is on a 1 year deal, give him
Hey,
a house
Dragons
in
are looking
Llanelli.
some strengthening in the back row.
Hands off!
We've signed one, haven't
Hands
we?
off!
We signed one.
Yeah,
What's the guy's name? Hang on, I'll tell you now because I got it written down somewhere. Everyone's been moaning about it. Terrell Pieta. I've got a
Oh, is
chat
that
about that now. So. Yeah, the guy
the
that played in the MLR,
yeah.
apparently. But no, I think
yeah.
and he's played since he's arrived. When did he arrive?
I want to say it was like 2 games into the season or something. Like it was a really weird timing. Or like he signed and then he
It'd be
didn't
after
actually.
the season New Zealand finished.
Right. So his first game actually was the win against Glasgow. Right.
Yeah.
He played 69 minutes. He has played 80 minutes ever since in every fixture. You get a club credit card out, buy him a house in Llanelli. It's nice this time of year, apparently. Buy him a Citroen Saxo with subwoofers and all the musical stuff he needs in the back to sound really cool. Give him whatever he wants,
Somebody
and
get him like a Tinder Plus subscription so he can find
yeah,
a Welsh lady, settle down. He'll never leave.
yeah, absolutely. Roll it
Yeah.
out. You got to keep that guy because he's fantastic. But yeah, I think there was one that got away a little bit from the Scarlets. I think we never go. Wasn't that impressed with Leinster, to be honest. Seemed a little bit root flat from them at times, but they obviously had enough in the tank, especially playing at home. I say home at the Aviva. But yeah, I thought there was 2 points lost there from the Scarlets from what I watched on Friday evening anyway.
Yeah. I
I
think we
thought,
just. Oh,
I
sorry, Nick.
thought, Joe Hawkins a bit eyesight. I didn't see an awful lot when I saw the main. Where had his best game at 10.
Yeah.
He played. He's had a lot of stick, mainly for the Scarlet fans actually. But I thought he controlled the game, what I
Yeah.
could see, quite well. Um, and just the other thing about the optics sometimes with some of these teams, you've got to remember they have very big stadiums. I think there were 15,000 there on Friday night, which for Welsh teams, we'd be rubbing our hands if we get
Mm.
15,000 for a home game.
Was
And
it
also,
actually
well,
15,000?
that's what's published. We can only go on what's
Oh,
published. It's the same for anything else. And similar in South Africa, those are really big
yeah.
stadiums. I know the Lions get crap gates, and there's maybe some reasons for that as well. But I think there was 11,000 on for the
Mm.
Sharks in a 50,000 stadium. I think Stormers, I looked, I think at about 17, 18,000 for their home game. So they look they are half empty because they're such big stadiums, but they're still decent crowds.
Yeah,
I think
I agree with
it's
that.
the one thing I would say is that obviously, yeah, like 15,000. I think my issue with it is that what they could have done is like say that you can only sit in like this stand on this level, so that was full, but instead it was like the whole bottom tier was open, so everyone was really spread out. So it looks like there's about four people there, and the Aviva isn't exactly known for being loud when it's full, so it was a bit quiet.
It's also apparently very cold.
Very
Speaking of cold.
cold, and some unusual combinations, food offerings.
But we have,
Why was it the Aviva and not the RDS then? Does anyone know?
Yeah,
I think
The
the RDS has
RDS is
been,
being redone, but I think it's finished now. They've just Leinster keep playing their games at the Aviva.
and then still get to call it a neutral venue for Champions Cup knockouts, which really annoys me.
Oh yeah, it takes a piss, that does.
Make him take it all the way to make him take him all the way to Galway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, anyway, that was all the Friday night games. So we move on to Saturday, where amongst the 6 to 8 hours of rugby slot that we had, they decided to put both the next two games on at effectively the same time with a 15-minute gap. I'm going to go in the order of the one that I ended up watching because Premier Sports sort of only lets you watch one at a time, really, effectively. So I'm going to go to Lions 42, Dragons 26. Now, I thoroughly enjoyed this game. I don't know if you agreed with it, Dan. You got your try bonus point. I thought for most of the game you were doing really well, despite losing both your scrum halves. Now I know Cardiff lost two scrum halves, but at least we lost one in each game. You seem to be losing. You ended up with poor Jack Lloyd, who is a 10 and never played scrum half at 9 to finish the
Y-
game.
Yeah, and look, let's get the good stuff out of the way first. Yeah, 42-26. Was I there or thereabouts for that in terms of prediction? Um, I got to be honest. If you'd give, I'd have took 40 odd 26. I think at the start, especially again, the performance was much improved from the Dragons. You know, a couple of years ago or last season, it would have been 60 odd, wouldn't it? But we were in the lead at one point as well. And the fact that we managed to pick up a bonus point meant that the trip to, I was just disappointed they didn't get one last week as well. But the trip to South Africa wasn't a complete and utter waste of everybody's time because they managed to get something out of it in the end, which is a testament to them. I thought Angus went okay again at 10. Clearly shows that he's a good footballer. He can cover 10 and 15 for us. Rio Dyer scored a couple of good tries. A crossfield kick, the kick pass into Dyer was the accuracy of it was fantastic, and the catch to dot it down was superb. I thought the Nyron Owen and Anisi's partnership showed up well again. And Nyron Owen's actually a really good 12. And he's a bit tougher. I think he bangs above his weight a little bit more as well. So he was good for us. It was nice to have. How good was Wainwright? You know, that bust at the back of the seam from a defensive line out. Just a shame that we couldn't quite make the most of that. I thought Davis and Carter went okay. Thomas Young again. Some of the stats. Woodman's good. I like Woodman. He's growing on me. I think he's going to be in the Welsh squads. In the not too distant future. So on the whole, I thought it was a very decent performance. It got a little bit dragonsy towards the end, I suppose, if you like. But Wainwright 13 carries, and Iron Owen 10 tackles, Carter 10 tackles. It was a fairly even game for sort of 50 odd 60 minutes. Last sort of 20, then it sort of they kind of pulled away from us. But there are a couple of talking points for me, I suppose, and this is a sign of the Dragons' luck, really. To lose one scrum half is, as you've already mentioned, is bad enough, but then to lose another one. And of course, the problem we've got now is that Shea Hope is already done for the season. So we got 3 9s in the squad. We're looking down into the SRC or into the academy now, aren't we? To sort of to bring a couple in really, because if they're all long term, then we're going to have to bring in 2 or 3 9s. So I don't know how the club's going to cope with that over the coming weeks, especially going to Paris next week. And they were rubbish on the weekend when they started Francais. So Yeah, watch this space on that. And the other area we've got a problem is tight head prop. That's the main concern. No set piece, no win. In our case, no scrum, no win. We are down to our fourth choice tight head in Chrissy Coleman. And who did we bring off the bench? Young Owain James, who struggled as well. I thought Jordan Morris struggled when he came on. It's not the first time Morris has struggled this season in a Dragon shirt. And I don't know where we go from here. We need Dylan Lewis back sharpish, I would have thought, because we've lost Hunt until next season. Sibo we lost through injury, as we spoke about last week, and has now gone off and signed for Sale Sharks in the interim because he was only on a short-term deal. We lost Dylan Lewis to his. I didn't even know tight head props had calves, to be honest, but he tore a calf and has yet to come back. Although he has been named in the European Cup squad.
Sorry to interrupt, Dan, but he posted a TikTok of him doing his like rehab. And he seemed to be doing like a lot, and he was out running and whatever. So
And look, I would have thought playing at altitude, if you got muscle problems at the moment, and playing in that level of heat's probably not good for you. So it was probably a good idea not to risk him. But yeah, we've got, and I don't know how we fix the tight head issue, if I'm honest, in the short term between now and the end of the season. I've seen all sorts of stuff online. The club needs to go and get a full-time scrummaging coach, and I'm telling you now, you, you can't polish a turd, to coin a phrase. And I'm not slagging Chrissy Coleman off. He's a Welsh international, right? But if he can't do it now at 27, 28 at this level, he had all last summer working with the Welsh. Was he in the autumn squad as well? He wasn't named in the autumn squad, I think. Wasn't he the Wales autumn
No,
squad?
I don't
think
think
so.
so. I think it was
Was he
just
or was
just
he named
Japan,
with?
wasn't it?
It was just. But my point being is,
Unless he
he's had
did the
time.
South Africa game.
He's had. He may have done, but the point being is, he's had time working with the national coaches as well. And the boys we're bringing off the bench are just recent under-20 graduates, aren't they? They should be nowhere near it really for now, unless they're outstanding. So you can have all you can bring in the best. You can bring in Cron from New Zealand and Australia if you want to be Dragon scrum coach for the next 4, 5, 6 weeks. It ain't gonna get much better. Um, I don't know. The only way I think we'd be able to fix it in the short term maybe is you got to play your best scrummaging. Do you play your best scrummaging hooker every week from the very start in order to help so he can shift across and help the tight head out a little bit. Maybe that'll shore up the scrum. I don't know. Is the answer at this level? Can you cheat so much? Probably not. But maybe we could get our best scrummaging hooker on there from the start, or Dylan Lewis coming back in would make a difference to us. But then you end up losing, because a couple of times the scrum got absolutely pulverised, didn't it? Absolutely pulverised. So how do you deal with that? I don't know. I'm open to suggestions.
More heft. More heft. I don't know. I mean, the scrummaging coach, all right, maybe won't help Chris Coleman, but it might help with those younger guys and get them up to a level. I mean, I know Jamie
Yeah,
was mentioned on the Dragon's Lair, but you had, was it Olivier Azam, former French prop? He came in as a scrum consultant,
yeah.
and that seemed to improve. I mean, it certainly improved Leon Brown before just he got injured to buggery. I said, I don't know. I mean, I'm normally one of the guys hanging off the back of the scrum, so I don't really.
For me, you've got to
I
go and
stopped
get
hits
yourself
kicking
another.
out. That's
You've
it.
got to go and find yourself another Rob Hunt, haven't you? But I personally, they'd just be on my shopping list to be going to South Africa, trying to dig out another tight head, another Seabo, another. Because all you want someone to do really is anchor the scrum. Who's the big Lions tight head? Who's been on the special chickens? Um,
the one
Come
that
on,
if he gets tackled, he
yeah. Can't sleep on his front. You know the guy I'm on about.
I know
Oh,
exactly the guy you mean. Wait,
Neptabilicanes.
is
Yeah,
he the
that's the
one
one.
that's been done for?
Oh, don't make me
He was the
laugh
one who
again
was
now.
done for doping.
That's
Dan
the,
thought he
yeah.
was doping on KFC. This is at the start because we had this conversation when Cardiff beat the Lions in round one. And I never heard anything about it since, but he suspiciously hasn't played in a while.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they've put that on the hush hush. But it's
Does he
still,
want
I
to go
found
to
it,
Newport though?
Well, there's plenty of KFCs in Newport.
and I've met a lot of people from Newport. There's plenty of special chicken as well.
Well, you're right there and all. But let's not forget, mind, this is Gwent now. It's the region. It's all inclusive, not just
Yeah,
Newport. Plenty
sorry,
of other good fried chicken establishments all
and
around the region.
plenty of other parts of the Gwent Valleys that have the special chicken, as
Probably
we're
more,
calling it.
probably more, I would say. But I know we laugh, but you need to go and dig up someone like that. I think to show the scrum up. Yeah, okay. Can we go and
Does
get a
your
spec?
forwards coach want to go have a little holiday in Georgia?
Yeah, mate. Hey, look, who's our forwards coach at the minute? Sam
I
Hobbs,
don't
front row forward.
Hobbs.
So I'd be amazed if they're not working on the scrum. From a technical standard point, put my teeth back in. But yeah, it's going to be a problem for the Dragons for the next however many weeks. If we're having to wheel out the same personnel, which does worry me, and it could blow the wheels off what has been a decent season for the Dragons, really, which is unfortunate. But
But doesn't it show the value of Rob Hunt
oh,
that when the difference he made when he came in, I don't know what he signed. There was a 2 year deal, but if I was Dragons, I'd be looking back to Rob and saying, "Look, unfortunately, you're going to be out till next year, but can we extend your deal?" Because
absolutely,
he's
yeah.
he's someone you can base a scrum around, and he's good in the loose.
Look, I,
But
I I think when you're going through, professional playing squads now, the big earners in your playing squad outside of your fly half is your tight head prop. They're the cornerstone of your scrum, whether you like it or not. Um, and so, yeah, w- it's a problem we need to resolve and resolve quickly. But I don't think necessarily bringing in a scrum coach, because I've seen a fair bit of this online. I see that we could do with one, but that for me, there's no quick fixes in here, because if we go in with Chrissy Coleman, he's 27, 28 years of age, has had plenty of coaching from plenty of different places. If he can't do it now, who do we think is going to be able to upskill him quickly enough? We're on about having someone come in on well, it is Monday today. Come in tomorrow and Tuesday and start working with him. I don't know whether that's the fix that we need. It's a
I think
personnel
Rob
thing, isn't
Davis
it?
King might be available.
You can keep him. But for all the youngsters out there, this goes to show, doesn't it? Right? If you are thinking about, you like playing in the back row, for example, but you're not 6'3", 6'4", you're more like 5'10", 5'11", and north of 115 kilos, then try and convert yourself, because if you're good enough, you're gonna earn big money playing tight head prop. So yeah, overall, cracking effort from the Dragons lads out in South Africa over the last 2 weeks, and we keep improving. There's clearly some belly in this squad now. It'll be a real shame to lose Aaron Wainwright, won't it, at the end of the season. He's irreplaceable. You can talk about any sort of signings coming in there after, but he's irreplaceable for us. But we're in a bit of a hole, I would say, at 3 and 9 for the rest of the season. So unless we can wheel Dylan Lewis out, and hopefully he'll be a really brave boy.
Do an 80. All right, that brings us on to the final game of the weekend. So, Nick, you were there as Ospreys went down to Connacht 21-14. 7-all draw at the end at half time. So, I mean, it looked like it was a fairly close one. As a Cardiff fan, thank you for again denying Connacht getting that try bonus point. That was very helpful for us. If you could just roll over and let us get score 4 against you in a couple of weeks' time, that would
Not
be
so
even
sure
better.
about that, but yeah. Well, we lost our cup final, didn't we? I can't see us making the top 8 now. It's mathematically possible, but it's not going to happen. I thought our team selection was a bit weird for such an important game. Why we didn't select Ruben Morgan-Williams or Kieran Hardy or Gareth Thomas, because they've hardly had any game time for Wales. I don't know if they're injured or there's some other issue, but as a fan, it would be good to have some clarity because, as I say, it was a really important game. For the second consecutive week, the team selected didn't take the field. Lewis Lloyd was definitely there and he was doing his stretches and so on, but he pulled out because he was down as a starting hooker. So Sam Parry actually started, and Evan Daniel, who'd been the travelling reserve, came onto the bench. It was a better performance than Ospreys. It was better performance than in Treviso. The game was certainly on a knife edge going into the last 10 minutes. I personally felt that we butchered a couple of chances in the first half. We put a lot of pressure on in the second quarter, and we didn't quite turn it into points. I've heard others say that possibly there was only one winner. Well, I didn't think of that way at all. I thought it could have gone either way. I think their bench. I thought our bench would make a difference, but their scrum half Divine came on, and he took a tap penalty quickly, and Jack tackled him a bit short of the 10 metres, and we went down to 14 men at that point, and it also resulted in a winning try for Connacht. So that was the difference really between the two teams. And when you look at the stats, there's very, very little to choose between the teams over territory, possession, tackles made, breaks, and so on. It was a very close game, but ultimately it's about winning these close games, and we didn't. So Jack Morgan was the best player in the park. And it's only his second game back. He, I think, made the most tackles, 16, had 2 turnovers. He carried hard too. But as I say, it's that pressure not into points is killing us. A bit like you were saying, Harley, with regards to Cardiff. It was a lovely Dan Edwards break just before half time. But unfortunately, the final pass to Jack Morgan was given us forward. I think that would have turned the game if we'd have gone in 14-7 at half time. Lineup creaked a bit at times, which was disappointing. But our scrum, conversely, was good and was on top. We're talking about tight heads, and I might have an option here. I'm not trying to give them away, but if we are going, I'd like to give a bit of a shout out for even Welsh selection in the future to Rhys Henry. He's quietly goes about his business. He scrummaged very well, very industrious, got good hands too. And I'm not going to go at Cussie Coleman or any others, some of the tight heads who've played for Wales in the last 3 or 4 years, but for me, he's at least as good as them. Back to the game itself, I thought Morgan Morse was industrious, carried well, and also it was nice that continued as well when Morgan Morris came on. Back to the Morgans, Harley. He came on as well after sort of long injury, a layoff, and carried well. Daniel Kasende probably his best game, I think, certainly since the new year. And I'd like to also say our now veteran winger, Luke Morgan, I think he's 34 next birthday, had a really good game because he hasn't featured for a long time. Ryan Combia came in last week and didn't have a great game, but Luke Morgan was excellent. So there's a point, could easily have been 4, but realistically for the Ospreys now, I think it's just pride. And of course the Welsh hubcap to play for. And also congratulations to Harry Williams, who came off the bench only for the last 2 minutes of scrum half, but that's his official Osprey debut. He picked up a really nasty injury early on in the season after just featuring in the friendly we had against Exeter. So it was nice for him and that in particular. Yeah, so overall, it wasn't to be. Can I just have a little word about Connacht as well and about Welsh rugby?
Yeah, go for it.
It's really interesting, very friendly people there. And they just can't believe what's happening in Welsh rugby because they've sort of been through a situation where the Irish Rugby Union wanted to disband the province. I think it was back in 2003. And they, thankfully, they made a march, I think, on Lansdowne Road in Dublin, and they got the Irish Rugby Union to change their mind, and they've not looked back really since then. The stadium has recently undergone redevelopment. It's right up there now in the modern age. Got corporate boxes and the like, and the stand I was in is alone can hold 6,500, and Connacht's a very rural province. You next door to the Atlantic Ocean, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Galway itself is a small city, but the attendances are rising. There were almost 8,000 there on Saturday, and a good atmosphere. And when I look back, the last time we were there, I think it was October 23. There are only 3,699 there. So it shows that if you do put a little bit of investment in, give it a little bit of time, build, and people will come. And for a small province, I think they will supply 5 players to the Irish Triple Crown squad, this Six Nations. So, and everybody there says, "Well, what's happening? Why is this happening, Welsh rugby? Why are you even considering getting rid of a team?" They just can't believe it. So there we are. I'll get off my soapbox now, but yeah, it was an interesting visit as well as the game.
Well, I'm glad you had a good time, Nick. It's another one ticked off the list for you. Have you got any more trips planned before the end of the
No,
year?
no, I'm not
No
at this
way.
moment.
You're
I've
not even
been
going to
to the
go
lovely
down to
Cardiff Arms Park before.
yeah, but have you met me at the lovely Cardiff Arms Park to thoroughly spoil your day?
No, no more visits.
I thought going back briefly to the rugby, how good is it to see Jack Morgan back? He's he is a top player. I think would start in any team, any professional team out there. You could stick him in. The Toulouse squad. You could stick him in the Leinster squad. You could stick him in the Bath squad, and he's up there playing as often as possible, especially in the big games. So yeah,
And
it's
instead, he's chosen to pick it to play for a team to finish ninth in the Premiership.
yeah.
They won't
Sorry,
be there
Gloucester
next year.
fans.
Do you know what that tells me that in reality he didn't want to move that far away
Yeah,
because
I think you're right there, Dan.
I would have thought someone like
I
Jack
I I
Morgan would
I
have
think
their pick of clubs.
I do have a very, very, if Tony would lend me his tinfoil hat for a second. I think after the whole thing coming out about him saying, I only want to play for the Ospreys or that, he was basically stymied. He had to either stay at Ospreys or move elsewhere. And if he was worried about his future at the Ospreys, he couldn't exactly go get shifted to a Welsh team after saying that. So I feel like
No,
he sort of burnt his bridges a little bit with that one. But hey, I mean, Gloucester's a nice enough place to go to. And, be with his best mate, Dewi, who are, almost similar to DuPont and Mac. I just imagine when they're in their 80s, just living in a sheltered accommodation together, just
yeah, and
regaling stories of pranks they used to play on people.
They can do the car share, can't they?
they do the car share, yeah, exactly. And look, if you are Jack Morgan and the Ospreys are the team that goes, which team would you go to at the minute? Anyway,
Yeah.
Well, if I was Jack Morgan, I'd probably go back to the team I started at.
come on now,
Unless he
we've just
wanted a
discussed you don't
full,
need him.
unless he wanted a full set.
Yeah, unless he was going for the tail Sally.
Yeah.
But no, look, it was great to see him back. He's going to make such a difference to us
That's a good player.
because he'd be straight back in our Welsh team.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm still. Yeah, that is a really good conversation because it'd be really interesting to see who they move because people, both of them makes that back row work. So do you move him to six, or man has made himself sort of an indispensable man, and having both of them on the bench is a fantastic option.
I'd start both of them.
Uh,
Personally, I think his physicality is you need to win collisions, lot as we've talked about. But hey, look, this is a good position to be in for Wales now, isn't it? You've got the other one that we haven't spoken about that hasn't retired from international rugby yet is Falatau still to make a comeback.
ye,
I think that, I think
I'm
the
feeling that
announcement's
ship's.
coming.
I feel like that ship's sailing. I feel like you've. Although I feel like he's that sort of player who you're gonna have to say you're not getting picked
Yeah, I feel like a
because
doctor's going to have to tell him you can't go out on that pitch anymore.
I said just seeing him go off against the Sharks again, and it was you're just like there's not many more games left. Is a club really going to want to pick him up? I know
What
he's
did he
absolutely box office, but
what did he go
I,
off with?
It was his arm, wasn't it?
I think it was another arm. Yeah, I said he's been getting a few arm injuries and stuff, and
Oh,
I feel
this
like
this if this is semi-serious, then it may finish him, unfortunately.
yeah, it didn't
Mm.
look great. He's had numerous knee issues as well. And, in Cardiff, to be fair to Cardiff, they're trying to not to avoid to rush him straight back through, but
It was his first game back, and he's still got injured. It's
Yeah,
really sad, and
I do feel like he shouldn't have gone to
How long
yeah,
did he
South Africa
last? How
personally,
long did he
but
last?
was it 49 minutes or something?
I can't remember. I have to go double check the thing, but yeah,
It's
it wasn't.
it's it's really sad to me that we had this like golden generation of players, and instead of most of them bowing out in like on a high, they're just getting beaten and broken and not really having a dignified end to their career. And he's one of them. Lee Halfpenny's another. It's just a bit sad.
What
Well,
do you
Liam
mean? We
Williams
we
is on.
managed to finish it. We managed to finish his career where he started it, playing against Ulster.
I mean, he's barely playing, um,
That's fine.
which is probably for the best for everybody's safety.
Yeah,
Including
yeah,
his own.
46 minutes. Palace. I mean, he got a good half in.
Yeah, and look, I just feel sorry for the guy if it is another bad one, then he's not getting any. How old is he? 35.
Yeah, about that.
Ah, so yeah, he's right on the edge then, isn't he? Unfortunately, old father time waits for no man, especially in this game.
On the plus side, I might seem. I reckon he'll be one of those players though who you just see dropping down the leagues, and he'll just play because he enjoys playing.
Hey,
Yeah.
look great in
And
green and
I
white.
was about to say, I mean, he's got. I think he's obliged. He has to at least play a game for Ebervale first.
Yeah.
He has to. He has to play for Ebervale at some point. But I mean, why not Absalary after that?
Why not? Why not? We'll take him.
Hey,
We'll take
he
him.
can migrate forward and
Below all
help you
of
prop him forward.
next year's budget, like the kitchen budget on getting Faletau.
Yeah, but then the boys won't be able to have sausage surprise them, will they, on Saturdays after the game? Come
Well,
on.
no, that'll be the surprise. There's no sausage.
Got
Just
Faletau instead.
just beans and chips.
Yeah.
So just right. So that's the weekend. So state of play with two very important tables now. So the first one is the URC, which you're not too worried about. So Cardiff are in sixth place on 41 points with eight wins out of 14. Then we drop down to 11th for the Ospreys, which is on 30 points with five wins, two draws out of 14. Then we have Scarlets and Dragons are tied, both on 21, with Scarlets in 14th, Dragons 15th, by virtue of Scarlets having won more games. So they've won four, drawn one. Dragons have won two, drawn three. And that's just the second type. That's the tiebreaker after points, set number of wins. And then the only table that Nick actually cares about, the Prediction League. And Nick, you'll be surprised. You're still in the lead. So you're on 123 points. Then it's Dan on 114. I'm
I'm catching him
trailing.
up. I'm catching Judith up.
It's getting there. It's within nine. It's within 10 for the first time in a while.
It's going to get
I'm on 100.
tactical now. I'm going to give one less and one more than Dan every week.
Nick will from now on. Nick will be the first one to give predictions.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Then it's me on 110, and then Hattie miles behind on 109.
Do you know, it's my fault I keep backing the boys and they're just.
I'm having a weird thing with Cardiff where I'm either thinking they're too shit or not shit enough.
Does this week's European fixtures count?
No, we haven't done it. Maybe from next season if we want to implement it.
And
But
All right,
I don't have a game.
I can have a rogue. Oh, you want to have a
no, you
rogue
can still pick.
prediction.
You still have games to pick though.
Yeah, it's true.
Dragons by 70 then.
All right, before we get into the European previews, just to remind that if you are enjoying what you're listening to, ramblings and all sorts, give the pod a like, a comment, subscribe, share it with your friends. Feel free to also check out the feeder pods, so Carver Central, Dragon's Lair, Saucepans and Side Steps, the Ospreys Erie. We've also got the Welsh Language pod and SRC pod on this channel. Over on our sister channel, Global Game Line, we've got Irish pod, South African pod, the URC Rewind, Women's Rugby Treehouse, which is starting to record, and now we're getting close to the Women's Six Nations, which I haven't got done too much women's rugby this week, but as next week is the week before the tournament, hoping to do a big proper preview for that. Yeah, and there were some other Scrum of the Earth on there. Hugh does his top 14 digest if you want a little bit of news in the top 14. And there was another one I've forgotten. I think it's Wall Street Journal, the USA pod. That's it for now, although Leah's always plotting for more. So if there's a podcast you want to do, rugby based, send us an email or DM on the socials, and Lee will definitely be up and running because he wants his media empire.
Mhm.
And don't forget then, if you are watching on YouTube, merch at the bottom. And that's all my contractual obligations. I will be getting my bonus of exactly £0 and 0 pence. And with that, now we'll do European preview. So we've, as Dan's mentioned, we've had a bit of squad updates for Europe, but it's a bit wishy-washy. Anyone can drop in and out. It's not as strict as it used to be. Ospreys have Jack Morgan, Harry Houston, and Ben Roberts added to their roster. Dragons have Elliot D, Dylan Lewis, and James Jumbo Benjamin. And then Cardiff have the now injured Talupi Palau. This sort of news is beforehand. Teddy Williams, which suggests he's close to a return, as is Ed Byrne and Ellis Bevan. No one joined to the Scarlets. Don't know why. Sorry, Hattie.
They got a week
Charlie,
off.
do you know what? We're going to be nice and fresh
Yeah,
when
true.
the URC returns.
Well, by all counts, because we've got no players left, we're throwing a change side at Benison anyway, so that's fine. So we'll go. Speaking of that, we'll go into predictions, and I'm going to go rogue, and I'm going to do it in reverse order this week.
Oh,
So Sunday at
crazy man.
12:30, and this is on EPCR TV Rugby. Even in the knockouts, Premier Sports cannot be asked broadcasting all 16 games of Champions and Challenge Cup, which is annoying because even TNT used to do the round of 16 games. So you're going away to Stade. So on the plus side, there should be some lovely kits on show. Dan, how do you think this one's going to go?
Well, considering last week, Stade Francais beat Clermont at home 64-20. The week before that, they went away to Toulon and won 46-27. The week prior to that, they beat Perpignan 42-21 and only just lost 13-9 to Toulouse. Probably Dragons by 60 or 70, I would have thought.
Yeah, I can see Stade throwing this.
I look. This is where, if the tombola comes out, it's going to get nasty. What do you do if you're the Dragons now? A genuine question. Now we got very little chance of winning. I would have said out in Stade, or it would be some upset if we did. However, there's an opportunity to keep playing. Putting combinations together. Maybe we could see Paye and Nisi have a go, or give an Iron Owen another go with Nisi outside of him. An opportunity to bring Tinas back in. Obviously, we're going to have to give depend on the severity of the injuries, of course. Bring a number 9 in. So it would give us an option to keep the sort of performance feel good factor going. If we could go out to
Yeah, I think that's to answer your question. I think that's what I do because like as you say, it's very unlikely the Dragons or any of us would go to Stade Francais and at this time of season and win.
Mm-hmm.
So if you lose, you have got a week before you go back to URC. Obviously, and you can always pick up a bad injury in training, can't you? So you don't. So I would say, yeah, go as strong as you can and try and get a performance and try and score a few tries and fire a few bullets.
Hey, and look, do you know what? If we go out there and lose 40 odd, 50 odd, 20 odd, as we did again out in South Africa, and the performance is good, we score 4, then I think everyone would be happy with that. And Nick, do you know why? I tend to agree with you because, however, it's then, we got a week off, I think, haven't we? Before we
Yeah,
play,
you have a week off.
got a week off, and then we play Bulls at home, Zebra, followed by Edinburgh at home. And I think especially the latter 2 games, Zebra and Edinburgh at home, are winnable fixtures for the Dragons. So yeah, I'd be looking at those comments. However, if there's anyone 50-50 on the injury front, then do you risk it? And this is where those squad sizes sort of come into it. So Tia's damned, I think, if he does, and damned if he doesn't, because if we go sort of with the best that we've got available and have a good go at it, but we lose another 1 or 2 through injury, then it's a sucker punch for the coming games. However, if we send out a much changed team, then it could have equally as a badder effect because we could ship 70. And that's the reality of it, isn't it? That's where we've been in terms of squad quality at the moment. So I don't know. I can't see us winning. I suppose a lot of it as well will depend on what Stade Francais do, whether they want to progress in the competition or not. You know, I got to be honest. I'd be amazed if we get Stade Francais first/second team. It's going to be a much rotated squad, I would have thought.
And a thing for you as well, your next opponent's the Bulls. They're away to Glasgow this week in the Champions Cup.
There you
So
go.
that could be so they might be taking their touring side up and ready to do a two-weeker.
Absolutely.
All right, moving on next. So Saturday evening game. So Ospreys are off to Ravenhill. I don't know who the title sponsor is
Can't remember
anymore.
what it's
No
called,
longer.
though.
But it's
Affidia.
Ravenshill.
What's
That's it.
Yeah. It always makes me think of Alfalfa from Of Mice and Men.
All right, now I'm just trying to remember GCSE English. Thanks for that, Hattie.
You're welcome.
So away to Ulster, familiar opposition. Nick,
Yeah,
Ulster have been flying high.
tough game. They've had a very good season, Ulster, haven't they? I know they
Mm.
lost to Connacht the week before, but it's a much improved season for Connacht. For Ulster. They're likely certainly to finish top 8, possibly even top 4. Given what I said about our selection for last week, is it because we're holding back for this week? Do you know, any of you know, is there more money to be gained by getting further in the European competition? I know if you have an extra home game, it's going to increase the money, but I'm just thinking prize money.
I don't
Why
think
would
so.
you target this rather than the top 8, for instance, if that's what we've done?
There's a couple of things. One is it's just a shorter route to silverware.
Mhm.
Two, you get a gate share for the knockout rounds.
Right.
It's not equitable. I think it's like 80-20 to the home
Yeah. Okay.
team. And obviously if you win the Challenge Cup, you go into
Yeah. I
you
get.
get Champions Cup, and then that's the carrot there is that you
Right.
go into Champions
Yeah.
Cup next year, and then because you've got those 2 home games in Champions Cup, you get a larger share of the TV revenue. Although it doesn't
Right.
really work in Wales because the WRU take all the money and then give it out.
Right. Anyway, I would hope that this we go as strong as possible. So I would expect Derby to be back. Obviously, Jack came out was fine from Saturday. So those two in themselves will have an impact. We've got plenty of depth at second row. Uh, yeah, and then I'm hoping there's no serious injuries to our 2 Welsh scrum halves. They were just having a rest this week, and maybe Gareth Thomas might come in this week. But Steph Thomas actually has done well this year. He's quietly gone on with his business. So if we have our strongest team and play well, we'll still lose, but we won't lose by many. But it's a very tough place to go, but you never know.
Yeah. And then just a bit of broadcast news. This one is Premier Sport or S4C, whichever one takes your fancy there. I imagine for most listeners it'll be S4C. Then we move on to our final game, which is the first game up with Cardiff. Again, another URC clash. Cardiff go away to Benetton, so we beat Benetton earlier this year. Just after the festive derbies. I imagine they're going to be quite heavily loaded. All counts say that we're going to be going very short-staffed for this one because injuries to Faletau, McNally, George Knott, Johan Mulder, and Aled Davis are all out. And then there were a couple others we got. So I think Jacob Beetham, but I don't know how serious his injury was. And there was another, and I've forgotten who that is. So we're probably going to be quite shy off a full team. So by the time of it, Cornel Van Zyl is just saying, should we focus on the leagues, lad, and let's give everyone a couple of weeks to recover. So I don't think we'll. That said, Benetton have been one of those weird teams where they're playing much less than the sum of their parts. And I think, even with the change team, there's a chance we go. The only problem for me is if we have no second rows, then we're going to really struggle because that when as well as Oxenchae coming on in that Shouts game, it also timed with McNally going off and having Alan Lawrence playing a lot of time at second row, which he did when he first came through as a player, but he's still not really. He's an effective 8 because of his size at 8, but he's not so effective in the second row because he's quite small in that comparison. Again, I'm not too asked. If we had a fully loaded thing and maybe had a few more points on the URC log, I'd be tempted to say give it a crack, but we've won the Challenge Cup twice. We're the most successful Welsh team in Europe. Sorry, that's just there's a pause there just so all the
League
Ospreys
is your
fans
bread
can
and
start
butter.
having a go.
League is your bread and butter, Ali, as well,
Yeah, I mean you get the same amount of money for finishing 16th as you do first, so
Yeah, exactly. So why fucking bother?
yeah, I just don't think it's right. Hattie, I know you haven't got a horse in this race, but
Mhm.
any overriding thoughts over those 3 games?
Um, I would say Benetton weirdly have been really strong in Europe this year, whereas in the URC they've been really up and down. So although I do think that it's the most like, if I had to look at all the teams on paper and pick which game would be a Welsh win, I would say that game. The way that Benetton have played in Europe has been significantly better than their URC form, so it could be interesting. Um, I think the Dragons are pretty fucked.
Oh,
Um,
here we go.
sorry, Dan. I apologise. I think you're pretty screwed. The Ospreys, I think if they want to put a go for it and put a good team out, it could be interesting. But I also think that Ulster are gonna want to get into the final as much as possible. I think they're one of the strongest teams in the Challenge Cup. So yeah, it could be the end of the remaining three Welsh teams in Europe.
Wow,
Which,
and there's a downer. And after all the nice things I said about the Scarlets as well at the start.
well, hang on, I'm gonna bring in the positive. I can bring it up. If all 3 of us are knocked out, we have more time to talk about Wales women next week.
My favourite topic.
So I'm quite stoked for that.
Hmm.
And how the fixtures, yet another tournament where the fixtures seem actively conspiring against Wales.
Let's have our best rivalry first,
And
because
then
that
the must win,
makes.
and then the must win game last.
But also, it's a must-win game, but also the game that nobody really wants to go and watch in person. Yeah.
Anyway, we will hear these grievances and more next week. So just quickly, we just do a quick. Do we think which teams are going to win? We won't do by how many because I'm not marking it down on the sheet for this one. Dan, do you just want to quickly go through Benton Cardiff, Ulster Ospreys, and Star Dragons?
Okay, so I think Benetton are going to win. I'm pretty sure after they played the Dragons in Europe. As a Euron, the scrum half was quite vocal in saying they want to have a good go at this tournament this season. So I would expect to see Benetton pretty much fully loaded. So I don't know, Benetton by 7. Um, Ospreys go away to Ulster.
Yeah.
Ulster by
Yeah.
12. And just because Hattie's tried to drive the boot into the Dragons, I'm going to say the Dragons by 48. Chrissy Coleman's going to win 6 scrum penalties. And we're going to sail into the next round of the Challenge Cup. And, Fletcher Anderson can sign for the Dragons in the summer. So
Move
there you go.
over, move
Yeah.
over Reece Carre. It's all about Chrissy Coleman.
Yeah, yeah. How do you like those apples? Stick that in your pipe and smoke it.
But TNT can't do highlights of Chrissy Coleman doing an offload in the game that team loses.
Nope.
Yeah, where's the fairness for Chrissy Coleman here? Come on now. No, all jokes aside, it's going to depend on the Tom Bowler, as we've said. Start by 30 to 48.
Nick, anything you want to disagree with? So Dan's gone for 3 home wins.
I think I think Benetton will take this seriously. They'll have all their internationals back. Even with a mixed team, it's a hard place to go So I think it'll be quite a comprehensive win for Benetton, given Cardiff's injuries. I think it's and so I do you have to give a score, Ali? Do you want me to give a score?
No, it was just who wins
Yeah.
for this one. I think I wrote it down.
So Benetton, I can't I can't see British getting more than 4 penalties, but and because of that, I can only see Stad winning. And finally, go on. We defy the odds. Jack and Derby have fantastic games, and we win by the massive margin of 1 point.
Do you know, I'm all for an Ospreys Cup run where they just decide to sack off the league. I'm all up for that. Personally, I think Benton's going to win. I don't think Cardiff are going to go particularly strong. I think they're going to try and lick the wounds, try and get the 2 derbies out of the way, and then hopefully get something out of Stormers. I think Ulster, they're pretty safe where they are, and they've been looking for some silverware. So I think they could. I think they want to have a run. I'd back them at home against most teams other than Connacht apparently. And I just think Start. I think even with a changed team, Start probably going to beat Dragons because they'll revert to French type and scrum them off the park if all else fails. It's just sad, but when you're that injured and you don't know what's going to happen with the 9, you're limiting yourself when you've got to use an emergency 9. Remember when Cardiff had something similar? We had Ellis Jenkins playing. It was literally he just had to pass the ball out. That was all he did. No attempts of box kicks, so they knew exactly where all the kicks were coming from. It's just not going to go. But hopefully, it'll be. Hopefully, I will, as frequently proven on this podcast, completely wrong. And we end up with 3, like a miraculous triple away win for us.
Hey, if that happens, right?
Beers on Dan.
If we have 3 away wins, right, I'll shave my head next week on the pod.
Do it before the pod because we run quite late on time as it is.
I'll turn up shaved, completely bald head to toe.
No.
Eyebrows as well.
Well, no, I'll have to keep the beard because I look like Rodney Trotter without a beard, so I'll have to keep that.
I thought you were called Dave.
Dave, all right, Dave, yeah.
I think
I have one thing to add. Friend of the pod, Ben Breakspear, is the ref for Zebra versus Poe as well this weekend.
Oh, good on Ben. I think it's good ref.
So
in Glasgow, he's done about the last 3 games. He's done it in Glasgow.
Well, he's
so
going
at least
to
he gets to Italy.
Yeah, he's going to have a lovely weekend in Parma.
Yeah, I'm sure Nick will tell him all the nice places to go. Although I suppose when
I've
he was
never
out
been
in
there,
for the under 20. Oh no, it's Treviso the under 20s, wasn't it? There in the summer. I think maybe he'll tell you all the nice
He can
spots.
tell
when you go
me
out to
next year. For next
Right.
year.
I think that's enough of the bantering. So thank you, Dan. Thank you, Hattie. Thank you, Nick, for joining me in all this, and thank you all for listening. Nosta.
Thanks, everyone.